From us damn street niggas, we ain't really comfortable with all the attention. That's what you trying to say.
Do what you do, baby.
Yeah, I want congrats. I seen to come up through the mud. You feel me?
Real.
Yeah, I'm saying, like I said, I used to be top. I'm one of the ones. When that nigga said he had a phone, his whole joke, and I'm looking at the screen like preach, cause I was on the phone with him. You feel me? So you know what I'm saying?
Peter Nut the General to NOLA the podcast. You keep your body clean, huh? Yeah. Hey, y'all, I got a special guest on. You heard me? I'm gonna let him tell y'all who it is because it's his story. So, about to bring him on right quick. Yo,
What's good?
what's up? What's up, man? You want to get right into it, or you want to shout your people out before we get into the interview?
No, we good. It's just me. My name is Divine. You know what I'm saying? DIVYN. Just representing for, some positive, uplifting music, basically. Just trying to present a different outlook for, the youth, because, we got a lot of music out there, and it's all different vibes and different energy. But, again, like I said, I think that it's time to present a different kind of energy and just give people options of music that they can listen to rather than it all being basically the same thing,
What brought on this this outlook that you have on bringing another perspective to the kids and things of that nature that you just spoke on?
I mean, overall, I think hip hop in general has been here for over 50 years now. So I think it's like it just passed like its 50th anniversary recently. And, I grew up on hip hop. So a lot of us grew up on hip hop, whereas years ago, hip hop wasn't something that we grew up on as much as it was something that we was creating. It was part of something that was being created. And now there are people that grew up on hip hop, and it's been given one dynamic as of, now it's been it hasn't been given a lot of light on the different angles of hip hop, the different aspects of hip hop that used to, that it used to have different, genres of hip hop rather than it just really being rap versus gangster music versus all the violence and the, sexual content that we hear now. Everything is about sex, violence, money, money, money. Nobody's really talking about, hip hop and what hip hop used to be, And, I just felt like it was time to bring back that aspect of hip hop,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What artists did you listen to before you started doing your thing?
I mean, I grew up listening to everybody from Dougie Fresh to the Cold Crush Brothers, all the way up to, Wu-Tang Clan, and I'm an OG, so I've been around for a while, so I've been listening a lot, and the Jungle Brothers, Slick Rick. I mean, if you can look around in my studio, you can see a lot of the artists that are still on my wall are influences that I grew up on. I've been collecting magazines and being in part of this hip hop thing for 30, 40 years now. So, just growing up in it, as most of us have. So just being influenced by so many different artists, all the way up to some of the newer artists today that I listen to, that I respect and like, there's a lot of young artists that are doing their thing, that have new lyrical content, because hip hop grows. It's grown and changed to different things and evolved into, what it is today. And a lot of what's good now that we didn't have before was we didn't have a lot of female artists like we do today.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the artists that we were accustomed to back in the days were mostly male. We had a sprinkle of female artists that would come out here and there, but it usually be one or two female artists out at a time. It never really was the floodgates wasn't really open for female artists like it is now. And it's good, but there's so many artists out there, and so many artists with positive messages that are not being heard. So many artists with messages that are different than what we're used to. We could be listening to all of the sexual content forever, but there's a lot of female artists, that actually putting out some music that's worth listening to. A lot of male artists putting out music worth listening to. Um, for those that are, checking for that rather than wanting to constantly hear the sexual content. So it's really just about having options.
Facts. You spoke on, the artists that you used to listen to coming up when you was coming up. You understand? In your opinion, right? What's the biggest difference from when you was a BG before you grew to an OG, and the artists that you listen to and the newer artists now? What's the biggest difference in your opinion?
I think the biggest difference, for the most part, because I don't think there is that much of a big difference as much as people would like to believe. I think, like I said, I think hip hop is elevated and grown and is just really representative of the culture and what we see as always it was. I think what's more changed is what we get to see, the graphic content, the nature of what we get to see and visualize every day. There was a lot more sensory back when we were younger. There was a lot less things that were allowed to be so graphic and so vivid, let's say.
Right.
So I think that's
part of personal, you hear me?
Yeah. So I think that's part of what made it different. And also that hip hop originally was talking about what we went through more than it's talking about what we wanted. Now I believe it's more a hype up of what the image that people want to portray versus portraying the image of what we're dealing with in the streets.
Right.
When it first started, it was just a representation of the things that we were dealing with in the streets, and I think
voice, so to speak.
Yeah, it was a voice for the streets. Now I think that it became the voice to the streets, and I believe that they begin to the powers that be, they are able to manipulate it more because it's not rooted in our culture as much as it's rooted in money. It's more so about the money and the dollars than it was about the culture. So that's a big part of it as well.
Facts. What is it about you mentioned the OGs that you listen to? What is it about when they did what they did that made you want to put the paper to the pen and do what you wind up doing? You hear me?
Man, to be honest, I grew up listening to mostly, rappers, and when I was young, when I was 16, I was in the streets in New York, running crazy, and a friend of mine introduced me to Dougie Fresh, a brother that really was into religion, and he was a real positive type of brother. He introduced me to Dougie Fresh, and I started working with Doug, hanging out with Doug a lot, and he kind of brought me into um, the hip hop world, as from the background, from seeing it from that angle, from being an artist, seeing him going on tours with him, stuff like that. Doing a lot of his music videos. I was in a lot of old music videos. Started working with reggae artists, Little Vicious, and those were my homeboys. Those are my, till today, those are friends of mine, and we connect. And they kind of, because they are so classic people, those are legends themselves. I was there for a lot of the things that went down when Kumo D wrote a book about the legends of hip hop. I was there for that. When they were interviewing that, I was there. When certain people award shows and different events, and sitting through certain meetings behind the scenes with different people from Puffy to Russell Simmons, to just being in certain rooms at the right time, just as a fly on the wall, just being there with a celebrity gave me insight.
Opened up all the game like a sponge.
Yeah. So I soaked up a lot of the game. Yeah. So By the time I elevated my own self, started trying to do music, you know, I started trying to help other artists, you know, pushing other artists, you know, because I was a rapper back in the day. I wanted to rap. Now I do kind of like pop, rock, R&B type of music. And I, you know, I'll still rhyme if I want to, but you know, I do anything. Reggae. I'm multi-genre now, because I believe it's just all about the art more than it's about trying to stick to a specific, you know, um, a specific, genre. So,
It's so good.
but yeah, that's what really gave me the spectrum that I have for music, all the different. So I can't say that I'm really too much into old school, as I'm into old school, new school, world music. You know, I listen to all kind of stuff. Some things I listen to aren't even in English, just because I like the melody or the energy that comes from the song. So
Facts.
yeah,
So
that's how.
let's take it. Let's go back a little bit further to your upbringing. You heard me. I heard you mention a couple of moments ago. You understand you was from New York. Let
Yeah,
us in New Orleans know how it is coming up in New York. The Pacific borough you from. You know what I'm saying, your
yeah,
upbringing, your background, and upcoming to when you started doing the music. You understand me?
yeah. Okay. Well. I was born in a Muslim community in Brooklyn called Ansar Allah Community, which was run by my father. But then my mom, of course, she moved, and when I was young, and back and forth in and out of that community. So I was kind of in the streets, and then also raised in that community. So it was a little weird. I got best of both worlds, kind of being in the streets and being raised in the projects of Brooklyn. Um, my family was basically located mostly in Coney Island, Brooklyn, um, where there was a lot of gang activity. Everything was about gang life. You know what I'm saying? So coming from being a part of a Muslim community and people being so cultured and everybody being unified in that way, and then going out in the streets by yourself and then having to chase that life of the street life and not having that structure, but still low key having that structure in the back of your mind. So that
Yeah,
was kind of
a
what,
conscience.
yeah, that consciousness was something that was always embedded in me. But on the same token, when you live in that street life, that consciousness don't really have much relevance when you got to get to that bag and mom is throwing you in the street, and food ain't in the refrigerator. You know what I'm saying? You got to make
Facts.
something happen. So
Facts.
battling that those two dynamics of
Yin
knowing
and yang, huh?
the yin and the yang. You know what I'm saying? Street life versus the positive idealisms that I believed in,
True.
things that I was raised to believe in multiple cultures, from being Muslim when I was young to then going into foster care where they were Christian, and then coming out of foster care where they were Christian to going into being a Muslim again, and then back with my mom, and then my mom separating from that to being, what's known as metaphysics. You know what I'm saying? She started getting into the science of the mind and healing medicines, all that kind of stuff. That was her thing. While my father became what he was, a mogul in the Muslim community, and then moved to building his own thing. So all of those things affected how I viewed good, evil, right, wrong, and what kind of man
Was
it
it
made me.
confusing? Was it confusing for you at first? You understand me going through all that as a child, you heard me?
I mean, it was definitely confusing. It was definitely a confusing thing. Also, it's an identity thing. When you
That's what
raised in one belief system, you really stick to what you were told. You don't really until you get older and decide whether you want to do that or not, or judge that or not.
right.
But when you're brought into one thing and then drastically forced into another thing, and then drastically forced back into another thing, and then when you get older, you start to choose your own path. It was easier for me to just stop listening to others and really just do the research. So I spent a lot of years doing the research, and that's what led me to bumping into people like W. Fresh, who was at the time a Hebrew Israelite, and at the time I was into that school of information and wanted that knowledge and wanted to study the Bible. So learning who was right, wrong, from being Muslim, Christian, Hebrew, Israelite, all of these different belief systems that were so prominent that now, of course, everybody is just like, oh, I'm just quote unquote spiritual,
Mm-hmm.
which, I don't judge, but for the most part, I think that's because most people just don't want to acknowledge the rules that come with whatever belief system that they came from. But I don't want to get
Wait,
into
wait,
that.
wait, wait. Wait, hold on. We get into all that on. Yeah, it ain't just gangster shit. Yeah, it ain't just gangster shit.
All right
Yeah.
now.
Won't you
Okay.
elaborate? Won't you elaborate on what you mean by, you heard me, people don't adhere to the rules of their respective religion? Won't you get on that? What you
All
mean
right.
by that?
Well, this is part of the reason what it. Believe it or not, this is actually very relevant to the music that I produce.
Yes,
And
sir.
um, especially the song recently, y'all can check it out on YouTube. It's called "The Shit."
Mm-hmm.
It's "The Shit" SHIT by Is Divine, ZDIVYN. Because you won't find me if you write Divine the regular way. I gotta fix that. But anyway, yeah. Growing up in the multi different belief systems, it causes me to have doubt in anybody's teachings. I wanted to learn the origin of belief systems, the origin of all these religions, where they came from. I wanted to know if I was going to go to hell, or whether I was going to end up being cursed by God for, being a heathen, or whatever it was that I was, whether I was going to be attacked by the jinns. Y'all know what it is. So it's so many different belief systems and it's so different that one would cause you to break the laws of the other. So it made me to question uh, who's right, who's wrong, who's telling the truth. You know what I'm saying? What is the true nature of what's, right? And what if I was raised this way, and I'm wrong when I finally go to the pearly gates or something? Will I be ending up in hell, or was I supposed to be following the laws of Muhammad and not eating pork and not doing those things? Or are those things causing me to go to heaven and hell? So I
A
wanted
lot
to
of
know.
people wrestling with that type of shit right now.
Yeah. So that's something I was wrestling with. And back in the days, there was schools of this. There was like, you had a whole group of people that was just Israel. And today it's still the same way. It's the conscious community is the same way. But I think that social media and the internet has made knowledge so accessible that people tend to not know
It's
what's
water with
fact
it.
from what's fiction.
It's
And
water with it.
Right, and everybody just want to sound smart after a while. So everybody's out there just sounding smart, and everybody throwing out all kind of stuff that sound factual. Unless you did the research yourself, they could tell you the sun is 9,000,000,000,000,000 miles away from the earth and all that. But which one of us is actually going to do the measurement? You get what I'm saying? So we're going to have to take somebody's word for something. And what happens is when you have so many people out there giving their word and their perception and their information, or what they believe is their truth,
Like putting a 10 on a 1.
Exactly.
If you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, exactly. It's like the difference between a 10 and a 1. It's still the highest number, 1. You get what I'm saying? So the idea that each individual has their own truth has caused confusion in the masses, because no one's wrong. It's never been about right.
Turn opinion into fact, right?
Right. In fact has always been a majority agreed upon thing. It's never been something that's concrete. And when you do the research, when you start to do research into everything in the whole, from not just religion, but to actual science that sometimes correlates with religion and where it actually came from, science and history and tradition, all of these things are what caused a lot of these religions to be what they are today. So by me understanding those things and going into the root of these things, I had a better understanding or overstanding of what it was that would benefit or be productive for my life. And that's what I realized was most productive. So when I got into where you were talking about how people today speak about spirituality or being quote unquote spiritual, I believe that they have transmuted the word into something that a lot.
Wait, what's transmuted mean?
Transmuted means to change the structure of, to change the origin of what it was made of, and you change it. You transform it, transmute it.
Fuck it up.
Yeah, you change it. Not necessarily fucking it up would state out my opinion.
You put it in your it
just
in your
changes
own
it from
word.
one state to another, from one thing to another. Now, whether we agree if that's positive or negative, positive and negative is just how something affects you. Fact. So when something affects you in what you perceive is in a bad way, or what doesn't benefit you, you call that negative. And when something benefits you, you just say it's positive. And that's just basically how humans
Which is
judge
based off opinion, right?
good and evil, right?
Right.
Based on
Right.
how it affects them. So
So let me stop you right there.
uh,
Is that the correct way to judge good and evil off of your own perception, or did you in your studies find out that it's another way to decipher?
well, there is no other way to decipher, because that is the definition of good and evil. Is good and evil is perception. It is a perception. In order for something to be good or evil, someone is judging it already.
But
So
is what's supposed to be good though, right? Like you said, all right, like you
see, that's a
said,
conundrum right there, because in order to say what's supposed to be, you're judging it again.
what's a conundrum?
Okay, a conundrum would be something like bumping into a brick wall, or something that it keeps running, like a snake biting its own tail. Something that just keeps happening. It's something that you can't solve, a problem, an unsolvable problem. Like, you know what
Okay.
I'm saying? So what I'm stating is basically that you're causing yourself to have a problem because of the fact that you are running into judgment consistently. And the fact that you perceive everything through judgment is the problem. So that we as people, we judge everything based on our encountering of it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Like a judge and a defendant.
right. So what we look at as good and evil is based on how it affects us. So if in one place we'll look at some like, let's go back to Africa, which we know is everything basically comes from what that continent that we perceive as Africa, or we call Africa today. So for lack of a better word, and all of us knowing what it is, we'll call it Africa because that's what we've been calling it.
Wait,
You
what
know,
we supposed to be calling it?
well, Africa was named after Cyprical Africanus, and he's not black. So I try not to labelize it. But
What?
okay. Okay. Yeah. So Africa. All right. So you know America was named after a man called Amerigo Vespucius, right?
No.
Okay. See, these are the explorers that years ago explored for the different conquerors, whether it was England, Spain, Portugal. All of these are different conquerors that conquered the nations. And when a person conquered a certain place, it was named after them in their land. So because now we live under the rule of England, Spain, and France and Portugal, or well, mostly England, Spain, and France, and we basically have the child. America is a colony of England. Okay, and these we know this part of history. So these are all where their history comes from. Our history is all encompassed in their history as well. So this is where everybody's the name Africa was named after a man named Cyprical Africanus, who was an explorer, and he traveled, and he was. It's a long story. You'd have to look it up. We'll be, for me to get into that would be a whole memory that I have to dig up just to try to give you that history. But
part two.
Mm-hmm.
Part two of this.
Hey, we could always do a part two. We can definitely do.
Who the fuck is the Christopher Columbus nigga?
Okay, then we're going off topic here.
All right, my bad.
Because we're gonna be talking about American history now. This is all American history. Christopher Columbus was supposed to be a man in 1492 that sailed the ocean blue and discovered America. Supposedly discovered America for Spain. Okay, for the Queen of Spain. But that's neither here nor there. Again,
part two.
Huh? Yeah. So what we want to get back to is just the spirituality aspect, people being spiritual. So the idea that most people were raised years ago in some form of religion. And as we moved into like the early 2000s, stuff like that, late 90s to 2000s, people became more independent. People became more inquisitive. A lot of people started to argue about their little religions. It became this group and that group, and then little new groups come up, and everybody has their own little sect and religious order that they believed and they were strong with. You had the 5% nation, you had the Muslims, you had the Christian, this type of Christian, that type of Christian, this type of Muslim, that type of Muslim. So everybody had their belief system, and they would go out and we would all have these little powwows where we would just start building, and everybody just toss out their information, and it would be like little, almost like debates and stuff where people would try to, show their information, and this is what bred and birthed what we look at today as what, the conscious community. So there were very prominent people in those times, and certain people were known to have a lot of information, and certain people were known to, always win their quote unquote arguments, and learned that information. So when as we got older, people having that information, people growing to be those teachers, they stopped teaching after a while. They got caught up. A lot of them went to jail. A lot of them had a lot of issues with FBI, police struggles. A lot of different things went left, and we were left with a community of people that were being promoted and pushed by hip hop as the main narrative of who's speaking for the people. That's why today, instead of us having, back in the days, we used to have at least some people from the churches, because at the time, since slavery, of course, Christianity was one of our most predominant and prominent religions here in the U.S. for Black folk. So, a lot of us there was the pastors, that the Jesse Jacksons and the Reverend Al Sharptons and people like that would step forward and, and speak for the supposed people or our people. After a while, we lacked those people being able to step forward because, of course, we found reasons to, whether it be the government, there's always reasons not to trust. So, oh, he's a pedophile. Oh, he slept with too many women. Oh, he just did too much. As if there's not a million people from every nation that does that in every culture who's powerful. It's just not to say that it's something that we should endorse or promote, but it does happen. And recognizing how we handle our own people is something that we've never built. We've never developed a way to handle our own people. We always let our people be handled by our enemies, or people that we perceive as our quote unquote enemies, while we're going through it. So those are the things that I'm talking about. So when I go into that and I say about spirituality, I'm talking about how the majority of us never actually took up the time. A lot of people, I'm not going to say the majority, but a lot of people in what's known as the conscious community today, they never really took the time to do the research from the old to the new. They just started new research with these new concepts and these new ideas, and a lot of them denounced the rule systems that came with the old, whether you was a Muslim and you didn't eat pork and you didn't do certain things. Now you got Muslims running around doing whatever they want, Christians running around doing whatever they want, everybody doing whatever they want and claiming to be spiritual. Now this in turn gives them the right to feel righteous without any laws. There's no rules. Nobody can't tell you nothing, but I still believe in God. I don't have to follow any of his rules. I don't have to follow any rules that I believe other people are stating is God's rules. But then how do you even gauge God if those are the same people that gave you the idea of God?
You do your own research.
Well, your research would still be coming from a concept of God that came from other people.
Damn.
You wasn't born with a concept.
Hold up, you about to make me say fuck this music shit.
Well,
you see what I'm saying? You about to make me
again, that's what my music is all about. My music is about promoting us thinking different, opening up our minds. Open up our minds. I don't advocate lack of belief. I advocate in belief systems, whether you be spiritual, whether you be a Muslim or a Christian or whatever it is that you do, just that you be true to it. That's it. And if you can't claim something and not do the research as to what it was agreed upon that thing is, because that's all we have as human beings is agreement. There is no facts. There is no truth. The truth is just what we perceive it as in agreement. So the sky is blue because me and you both look up and call it blue. But if somebody would have started out calling it purple and me and you agreed to being called purple, if somebody else came along and called it anything but purple, we'd say that person's crazy. So the idea of what truth is based on what the agreement is by the masses and what benefits the majority. And when we forget that and we start being so individualized as we are today, this is how they divide and conquer. They get everybody on the me factor. It's all about me. It's all about I got to protect me. You know what I'm saying? I'm tired of looking out for others and they don't look out for me. Well, the purpose of looking out for others is to benefit humanity, not you. So we forgot that. We've lost track of humanity. Humanity is the key. People are only as good as the other people that they encounter. So what that means is that overall, we live for service as humans. Otherwise, your 99 years would be pointless if you lived in a shack by yourself, being the most genius person on the planet. If you can't benefit anyone else, what benefit is your genius? This is the reason why when they imprison people, you know, they take you away from society. That's supposed to be a punishment, because people are naturally communal. So while we talk all this me, myself, and I crap, all that does is divide and conquer. It allows us to be weakened by our lack of understanding of giving, being the whole purpose of living.
So you say you when you look back and you did your research, you wanted to know who was right, who was wrong. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Who was right and who was wrong?
I told you who was right and wrong. No one was right and wrong. It's
Your perception.
the truth was an agreement made by groups of people who determined that there's got to be some people on the planet, and once we start to argue, the winner is only the person who is able to dominate the other by whatever means necessary.
Whoever
So in
talked
order
the
for
best.
us to have, I'm sorry,
Whoever talked the best or fight the best.
whatever it is, whatever you can, if you can outsmart the other person, whoever survives gets to tell the story. The
But that don't mean it's
history is always written by the winner. So we have no idea if the Bible was true because it was written by the people who survived. So if we heard the story from the person who lost, they might tell you, nah, that person's evil and they did me dirty to win. But we wouldn't know that story because we're gonna learn the story from Moses, who was a Hebrew. And since he was a Hebrew, he's not going to tell you his people was dirtbags and that they robbed everybody and they took. He's going to say God gave them the right to do it. Just like every other person on the planet, just like the Christians who believe that they have the right not to eat pork because Jesus gave them the right. Just like the Hebrews who believe that they have the right to eat, to live the way they do because God made them the chosen people. Just like the Muslims who believe that Allah is their, and Muhammad was their prophet and gave them the right to be the chosen people. Each person was given this ability to look at themselves as righteous. And this is the point of spirituality. Spirituality is the new way of being righteous without doing any laws, without having to worry about how you affect someone else. If I'm spiritual, I can just claim any goodness based on how I feel about myself. I can burn sage. I can do whatever I want to do. And how I act as a human being towards someone else doesn't matter unless I think it does. Because remember, it's my truth. So now truth is only as evident as I choose to accept it to be.
So it goes back to no accountability.
It goes back to no accountability. People don't want accountability, so they accepted this new narrative. Not everyone. Some people are spiritual because of the information that they've gathered over a lifetime that they use to benefit their internal energy. And they call that aura their spirit. They call that aura, even though their spirit, all of this is their spirit. You are a living soul. So a lot of people get this, mixed with that and determine that their soul leaves their body and their body is a shell, as if it's not a part of their soul. But that's another belief system. Again, I can't tell somebody that's not true if that's what they want to believe or accept as their truth.
Fuck all that. Is that what happens?
Is what happens?
Because I was taught that when you die, this is just a physical form, and this is a spiritual form, and then that leaves the physical form. Does that really happen, in your opinion?
Okay, in my opinion, what you perceive with your mind can create anything.
Manifestation?
Not manifestation. What you perceive with your mind can create anything. So if you want to call that manifestation, that's one way. Manifestation to me is more projecting a thought and expecting an outcome. I'm not really talking about. I'm more talking about actually what the energies that we are a part of already. That even without you separating yourself into the individual you still a part of. Like even though I might be solid right here physically, I'm still connected to the air that's connected to the table that's connected to everything is still connected. We just choose to individualize ourselves based on our own needs. So that's why when people say your body, your spirit leaves your body, and I wonder, okay, to me, I say this, ask yourself this question. does the spirit have a purpose without a mind? And does the mind exist without the brain?
The mind is the brain, right?
That goes to be, some people would think that the mind lives
In your
outside.
opinion.
The brain causes electromagnetic waves that creates information. This information is stored in this format called the brain. Now that's just limited information. That's the energy that is conducted, or the energy that is created, it has multiple different ways that it can go, do. Now, how we colonialize or close off that energy and section it into what we call individuality is just a grouping of information that we chose or independently, or like, let's say a giant computer. And this computer, one program is running in the computer. Mm-hmm. And that computer program serves a specific denomination, a designation, whether it be to control your mouse or whether it be to control your keyboard. Mm-hmm. Now, us as humans, we look at that one mouse and say, this is the whole computer. That program, that individual me is the entire computer. And when that computer, we don't recognize that the whole computer would have to crash for anything to actually change. Besides that, you're just a glitch. You get what I'm saying? Just one program in a computer, in a giant tapestry that we can't get all the information to really give a conscious thought about you. If I really were to tell you what I think, it would be out of ignorance.
But you said that one's perception is their reality, right?
Exactly. So how I perceive things don't make it your reality.
It makes sense. No, it don't make it my reality, but it makes it
my reality.
It make it an opinion that makes sense like a motherfucker, though.
Well, no, it just makes it an opinion. What makes it make sense is your agreement in it. As soon as you agree, now it makes sense to you. Sense is how you perceive something, like feeling.
I'm gonna tell you this, right? You say you used to be in the streets. The way you talk, a lot of people need to be good, need to be happy that you changed your life, though. Cause your mouthpiece, though, is fucking fire, though. So
I appreciate it.
Take it back, right?
Okay.
You said what I agree with. What?
Okay. When you agree with something, that's what makes it a truth.
But it don't mean it's true or not. It's just what I believe, right?
All truths is an agreed upon thing. Nothing exists without agreement for humans. All right, we can't gauge what's real or what's actual except when other people agree that it's there. You get what I'm saying? If I tell you, look, what's this right here? If I tell you it's a coaster, right? Now we both know you don't know what this is until I tell you what it is. Once I tell you what it is and we both use it for the same things for over and over, and we see it as the same thing and we recognize it as the same thing, the next time I say it to you, you'll know what it is and I know what it is, so that becomes a fact of what it is. Until
but that's then, off of you. That's you. That's the fact that you taught me, right?
I taught you, and now so every bit of information that humans have has been passed down from generation to other people that's encountered it. So we're just living off of information that's shared information, and then we've agreed to it so we can communicate with one another what it is. That's it. So what we're talking on a phone? Yes, because somebody chose to call it a phone. Somebody chose to give it a designation called phone. It's just a thing. We have no idea what it is, but we know what somebody called it, and we agreeing to call it the same, so I don't get confused when you say what it is. But if I called it a potato, you wouldn't know what I was talking about, even though we're talking about the same thing.
That's the best way to get tricked.
Well, the key is that everything is about agreement. It's all about what we choose as people to agree on.
Don't make it truth, though.
That nothing is truth except what we agree on. As soon as we agree on it, the next person that comes along that says something different, he's a lie.
But the thing that really happened, that's considered the truth, right?
There's no really happened. Whatever we remember is what really happened. You follow me?
Whatever we've been taught to remember.
Whatever we remember. If you've been taught to remember it, if it's your own mind that remembers it, I don't know. All right, I'll give you an example. Let's say.
Give me an example.
I'll give you an example. Okay, Me and you walk into a room, right?
Mhm.
And when I first walk in the room, there's two people in the room. There's a lady in the room and there's a guy in the room, right?
Okay.
When I first walk in the room, I walk outside the room. You walk in the room, you walk outside the room. And then somebody asks us, what did you see when you walked in that room? You might see I saw a guy. I might say I saw a girl. Which one was who was wrong?
None of us.
It's all in your perception. What you chose to look at in the time that you stepped in that room will now be your reality. What you saw, what you viewed, everything that you encountered is your reality. That doesn't mean that what I encountered is not real too. It's just not your reality.
Like a street nigga and a regular civilian.
Yeah, like a street nigga and a Wall Street guy or something, or a
Street
star.
nigga and a Wall Street.
Yeah, they might have encountered, they might have lived in the same neighborhood, encountered the same things, but because they were living a certain life, because they had different focuses in life, they recognize different things because they had different encounters in life. What you encounter creates the character that you are too. So the people you encounter, the things your environment, it creates your outlook.
Like two people with the same accident have a different report on it.
You get what I'm saying?
No, but
Okay, people's outlook on life is based on their reality, what they've encountered.
yeah, on what they went through.
So if you was abused all your life, you're gonna think that's what life is about. You get what I'm saying? If you grew up in the hood and you ain't seen nothing but poverty and you ain't seen nothing.
It's like a judge and a defendant. It's like a judge and a defendant.
It's gonna be you encounter different worlds. So we
He
begin
gonna judge you. He gonna judge you for
from the world that he came from. He's not going to judge you from the world of the streets. He's not going to say, you know how it is, Your Honor. Somebody steps on your shoes, you got to pop that dude because he can't be having people stepping on your shoes. He's going to be like, well, why didn't you call the police? You're going to be like, you can't be calling no police, man.
Yeah.
You feel me? And he's going to say, well, that's the purpose of the police, for you to call them.
It's the
and you're going to be like, nah, man, them niggas don't mean me no good. He's going to be like, nah, man, that's what they're there for. They're there to protect and serve. They ain't never protect and serve me.
It's the same with religion.
So what you encounter, which is why we have all of these people arguing and fighting over the police and whether or not they should be, defunded and stuff like that, because people are wondering whether they're for the benefit or for the detriment. And it's really just a matter of what they've been taught.
Yep.
It's been a matter of what they've been taught. If you're a police officer and you go in there and they like, we got all these criminals in these streets and we got to lock this down. And every time you get out in the streets, the most crime you see is amongst black people. You're going to start attacking black people more. You're gonna be like, I mean, you can say what you want, but them niggers is the problem. That's what you're gonna think, even if you are one of them niggers. After a while,
if we ain't the problem, we're a big part of it.
Well, it's not about. First of all, we have to understand that we are not a we, and that's one of the biggest problems in the quote unquote black community. We get lumped up into this group when no other community in the world gets lumped up into a group like that. You don't. All right. Elaborate. Okay. Name another race besides black and white and give it to me in a color.
Mm-hmm.
Like you do black and white. Black and white are two shades. They're not colors, by the way. But name another shade that you name a people by, then they're not offended. If you called Indian people red, would they be offended? If you call Chinese people yellow, would they be offended?
Yeah.
Of course. Everyone would be offended if you called them by what they look like and not where they come from. There are no white people either. We call them white, but the only people that are considered white people is trailer trash. Everybody else knows where they're from. They're going to say they're Czechoslovakian, Polish, Russian, right? So if you're black, what kind of black are you? Because you got the United Nations, where all the nations in the world decided to either be a part of it or to be outside of the United Nations. So places like North Korea and stuff like that, they don't want to be a part of the World Union. The rest of the world have ambassadors and people that represent their nation. So if black people are a nation, who's their representative? T.I., Killer Mike? Who's their representative?
That's what the fuck wrong with us.
No, what's wrong with us is that we think we a people instead of a group of people. Different peoples. with different cultures that come from different places. What's wrong with us is we don't have a land. And we're not trying to claim a land because we think a land is our land is America. And if it is, then why don't we claim a piece of it?
15.
And who the fuck is we? How are we even related? We relating through slavery instead of relating through a land and a language like all other people on the planet. Everybody else is relating through the land that they come from, the language they speak, and the culture that comes along with that. We connect to everybody from Egyptians is a different kind of African than a Nigerian or a person from Sierra Leone or the Congo. These are all different kinds of black people. And yet we here in America think, even though we supposedly came from there on ships, we for some reason think that we all one people. Like we wasn't fighting when we was over there. Like there's not wars going on in Africa to today. Just because we the same color don't make us the same people.
That's why we can't get along.
No, we can't get along because we was taught not to get along, and we keep being put in positions to fight one another. If you take food, clothing, shelter, and give it more to everybody around and less to one people, and then beat them and rape them and cause them to do everything they're doing, then you're going to have a problem with those people until somebody teaches them otherwise, which is why we have to start teaching ourselves. Because in order for us to get anywhere, you can't expect the people that even if they mean you well now, they ain't trying to hurt you no more. Even they're like, all right, it's over. You think they're going to fix the problem? It's up to you to fix the problem with your children. So it's important of us to have these musics that's out that's different from the average music. Yeah, we could talk about My Booty Hole's Brown all day long. You feel me? We could talk about that all day long. Yeah, we good. And it's catchy. All day, yeah. Don't trust no nigga. Fuck a bitch. We could do that all day long. We could talk negativity about shit all day long. And I'll rock that shit, and I'll rock in the club with everybody else. I'll wear my Versace. I'll play the player part. I'm not above the rest. But what I will say is this. Let's just have another idea. There's something else on top. Let's keep that. That's all good. Somebody got it. I ain't mad at none of my people making some strides for progress from where they come from. But what I am saying is, where's the alternatives? Where's the music that we can play for our children? Where's the music that we can play for our grandmothers? Where's our grandmothers that want to cook and clean and bake cookies? All right, everybody don't got to be outside. Is anybody inside to watch the kids? Is anybody left to care about the future? Or is everybody trying to enjoy their best life?
They don't know about none of that shit, so they're not gonna pay attention to it.
Let's put it in the music. That's why I'm here. Let's put it in the music.
But
that's what they listening to today. Let's put it in the music. It's up to us to change the narrative. You
would have to teach them what you talking about in your music.
That's why we here. That's why we here, brother. Because you are making that opportunity available for me, and I'm here to do that, to give them alternatives. The music is wonderful. Keep listening to all the other ones. But then if you want a moment of peace and you want to hear something productive, positive, something that tells you something different is out there in the world, then there's other alternatives. And in order for there to be other alternatives, we got to keep doing it. I'm sorry, go ahead, bro.
I want to now you can promote your music, right? But I would suggest you come on here again and explain because they not gonna understand. I'm strictly speaking for the youngsters in New Orleans, right?
Right.
They're not gonna understand what you're talking about, and that they're not gonna be interested in it.
Oh, I understand.
They already know about the bang bang. They already know about the hustling. They already know about the woo de woo. They don't know because you teaching me right now. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, you teaching me your truth.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? You fucked my head up. I had all these rap questions. Now I got all these truth questions. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And I'm not gonna say that we not getting into your music, but they not gonna understand it. I want them to understand your music before they listen to it and make judgment off of how you see what I'm saying? Like what you just did me. You see what I'm saying?
Well, the key to my music is very simple. Just Imagine a world where we were given an opportunity to be more than a nigga because you were.
You gotta make that. You gotta make that.
So to make it simple for you, the song. Let's start with the song that I put out. The shit, right? The
You
song.
have it. You have it. Can you play it right quick? You have it queued up.
I could try to play it. Let me see what's popping on this.
And this is the song where I reached out to you from, right, with the video.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the video is kind of self-explanatory. You can catch it on YouTube. It's called "The Shit" by Is Divine, DIVYNIZIZDIVYN. And basically, the idea is very simple. It's about everybody that we listen to today. It's basically saying how the music today is narrative, just talking about the same old thing: money, pussy. That's all we ever talk about. And there are other things out there, and we don't recognize how how the government is destroying us, how we're being fed all kind of garbage in our foods, and how our children are being led to not have any discipline, and we don't have no real care for one another. There's no familyhood, there's no love anymore. Children are fighting amongst each other, grown folks fighting amongst each other, knowing the love is gone. Everybody's sufficient. Everybody cares about nobody but themselves, and everybody's attitude is you got to watch yours and you got to keep your circle small when we know your network is your net worth. All those things just counterproductive, and to understand that it's counterproductive, to get a better understanding of that rather than constantly hearing these celebrities, because I grew up with these celebrities. A lot of people don't know me, but I've been in the game a long time, and I've worked with everybody. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people, I've been behind the scenes with many artists, helping them with imagery, helping them with just the simplest things. Because that's what it really is about. It's about the smaller things that people don't see that's going on in the game. And I've been in there for a long time, and I can tell you a lot of it is just cap. Most of what you see is created to push you into an image of destruction that destroys you. It's all situated that way on purpose. So rather than being a person to just agree with it and be a part of it, I chose to do something different. And I might not get the sales that another person's going to get. I might not have all the likes because I'm not talking about how fuck a bitch and I'm not showing my bling and balling. So because of that, people ain't. You're right. A lot of the youth won't want to hear. A lot of them won't want to. They may not understand. They may not get it, but it's here, and it's available, and that's the beginning. The beginning is for independently, individually, yourself, me, as a man, understanding that I came from the streets. I came from, I was down with some of the biggest gangs in New York at my time. You know what I'm saying? And I did all of that, and it's getting sad that we use that as an accolade to get the respect in our neighborhood. It's sad that we got to say, yeah, I went to jail, I did this, or I did this crime, I used to pimp, I used to hustle, and that gives you respect rather than I built multiple businesses, because I've done that too. Rather than I've started my own company at an early age and was able to hire 50 of my street niggas off the streets and have them handing out newspapers all through New York. After so all of those type of things and stuff that I've done as well. But you're not gonna get the same accolades saying that as you would saying, I sold keys, you know what I'm saying? And I had them big old chains, and I did it big. I own my own home, I own my own car, I built my own everything that my dream car I got. So those things that I've accomplished just doing it the right way. And it was hard. It wasn't easy. But I can say that it was better when I could look in my neighborhood and walk down the street and people look and know what I do and be more respectful of me than seeing me and saying, I'm destroying the hood, I'm destroying my people, but I think I'm that nigga because I got some gold chains on and a big booty bitch that eventually booty gonna drop anyway. You know what I'm saying? So
you got the song queued up?
I do. So let me play that for you real quick.
All right.
All right. There we go. So this song here is called "The Shit." I guess we can see if we can get them to do the video since it's right here. All right. Let me see the screen.
Yeah, we could see it.
Hello, this is Iris reporting live for Channel 7 News. Children everywhere are being brainwashed by viral videos and social media. Religious leaders of every faith have gathered at the Holy Temple today to speak about how they can save the youth, as this has become a global epidemic.
Look at my wrist. Look at my whip. Look at my bitch. It's not all I ever talk about. All I ever talk about. Money in a closet, I'm money in.
Wait, hold on. This just in. Government officials have declared war on anyone seeking to change the narrative. Leaders everywhere are being arrested for trying to free the minds of the people. Please stay tuned as this story progresses.
Look at my wrist. Look at my whip. Look at my bitch. It's not all I ever talk about. All I ever talk about. Money in a closet, I'm money in a closet. Not everybody wanna see me. Everybody wanna see me. All we ever talk about is it's not all we ever talk about is I'm money in a closet. I'm money in a closet. Not everybody wanna see me. Everybody wanna see me. That's all we ever talk about is all we ever talk about. All we ever talk about. My money in a closet. My money in a closet. Everybody wanna see me. Everybody wanna see me. That's all we ever talk about. 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 Money in a closet. I'm money in a closet. And everybody wanna be. Everybody wanna be. Nobody really cares if it's the trade. Really cares. It's obvious that our community is sick. We really sick. The shit they got us feeding, not kidding, killing kids. But all we seem to talk about is our money and our cars and our bitch. We gotta get back to making music that makes sense, gonna make sense. I know we trying to get them dollars, but let's make sense, make sense. Too many people out here riding up guys. I may not change the world, but I can make a difference just by changing me. And I can see the darkness getting lit, we're getting lit. They trying to hide the truth, but it's just common sense, it's common sense. The whole season we are magnificent, yeah, we the shit. But we gotta make a change if we don't want things to remain the same. All we ever talk about, all we ever talk about money in the cars and the money in your cars. And everybody wanna see, everybody wanna feel. All we ever talk about, all we ever talk about, all we ever talk about, all we ever talk about money in the cars and money in cars. And everybody wanna be, everybody wanna see. All we ever talk about, everybody talk about, all we ever talk about, all we ever talk about money in the cars. It seems like all we ever talk about, everybody wanna see. Like everybody talking about, all we ever talk about, all we ever talk about is.
That's the song I contacted you on.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah. So
See,
that gives
I
you an idea.
I knew it. I said I gotta come pick this dude brain. Yes.
Yeah. So this comes from years of, like again, I'm one of the sons of Malachi York. If you don't know who that is, you can look him up. He's one of them, a political prisoner right now, more or less, after being convicted of child molestation for. It's a long story, but some people say it's government conspiracies, which it definitely is, but it also has a lot to do with the life he was living and the different things that he was trying to accomplish, as well as many, many mistakes that he made over the years himself.
He opened the door for the lies.
He opened the door for the lies, exactly. Or he opened the door. I can't even say whether it's all lies or not. I don't protest to get too deep into my father's business like that, because again, I don't. There was people involved that I don't know. I know some of it was lies. I know a lot of it was lies, but I also don't know what a man does in his private boudoir either. I don't know what a person does. That's my father, not my wife. I wouldn't know what he did in his personal life, and I wouldn't want to diminish from anybody that might have been harmed because he was convicted. But what I can say is that it just seems to be very funny why so many of our great leaders are taken down, and why we care so much about what they do in their private life versus the information that benefited us in that's more important, whether or not
they seem to get taken down over the same shit, huh?
Yeah, because they know that
same shit, huh?
Well, that's because the powers that be know that people abandon people when you hear anything like child molestation, rape, anything like that. Enough people come forward and say you did something, they're gonna start believing it, because what I told you, a fact is what majority believe. So once you get a group of people start going, it gotta be true because all those people can't be lying. I don't know why they think all those people can't be lying or all those people can't be paid off. You can pay off as many people as you can afford to pay off, and when you make money, when you're the one that puts the money,
some people want to believe the worst in somebody.
And not only that, again, it goes back to the spiritual aspect, where a lot of people who claim to be spiritual really just want an excuse not to have to do anything righteous. They don't want to have to follow any laws. Laws limit people. And although people don't recognize that the majority of people need limitations because they don't have self-discipline. We go through so much. How many people do you know are alcoholics just because the alcohol is available? How many people you know is potheads like me because the pot is available? You get what I'm saying? So it's really just a matter of, discipline, self-discipline. And humans, generally speaking, don't have self-discipline in a mass environment. So because of that, we're given laws to sustain us, to have the disciplines to allow us not to infringe on other people's rights. Because everybody got rights. Everybody got their own rights. And that's the big thing, So because everybody believes they have rights, the key is to make sure that everyone's rights don't start infringing upon one another. Because everybody thinks they're right and everybody believes in their own truth. So in my world, I believe you ain't supposed to do this. So if let's say, I'll give you an example. If I'm
I already know. In my world, I feel like it's grounds for dismissal. But in other people's world, they may not feel that it could get that deep.
Exactly. So for each person's belief system determines on their level of extremity, or how extreme they're willing to go to fight for that belief system. And it's up to us as people to get together and determine whoever's the highest up in our people, whoever's considered to be the scholars or the leaders of the people. They usually get together and determine what's best for the majority. And then everybody else, whether you agree or not, have to follow those rules, or you considered to be a lawbreaker.
I apologize for not touching more on your music, but I like to learn.
That's what my music is all about.
Well, learn your perception of the
that's
truth.
What my music, that's what my music is all about, brother.
Yeah, I've been listening.
A way to spread the information that I have, a way to spread this knowledge and get people engaged in this information that, if possible, could potentially help. If it's helpful, take it in. If it's not, let it go.
Is that a single or is that a prelude to an album?
It's a single. But it is a prelude to more music. But all of my music have different energy, so I could come out with this today, and then it'd be something totally different tomorrow. It'd be a totally different vibe. I don't necessarily put out the same type of music, so this I recognized I wanted to use some drill music based on the negative, connotation that's been put on drill music. And show how even it's not the music that's negative, it's the words and what's been put on the music that creates the negativity, or what we perceive as negative, because we may not understand what those youth were trying to project and giving people and most of the time, to be honest, most of our youth today
is real. That's what they're trying to project. Shit real out here. It ain't no game.
They trying to project shit's real, but they the reason shit's real. We are the reason shit is real in the streets. So, the reality of it is it's up to us to change that as well.
Hold up, OG. My bad, OG. My dog's gonna let me know what time it's time for him to go out. You know.
Oh, that's all good. That's all. I know how that go. But yeah,
Yes.
a lot. We can, if you'd like to give more insight to these brothers in New Orleans. If you want to get together and create something where we communicate on a regular basis,
You
and we
fucking right.
start to get these guys.
I ain't wanna I ain't wanna just come out and say it, but like if you could come once a week and talk with teach.
How about we'll just set up and you just keep sending me his links because I'm very bad with it in social media. That's why you don't see too much of me. I have a very large network of people. I've been around for a long time. People know who I am, but I don't get out. I don't really speak too much because I'm very bad with the internet and social media. You know how my generation is. We suck with that, and it's up to me.
Don't worry about it. I got you. Don't trip.
Yeah, well, it's up to me to change that as well because that's just an excuse, and it's up to me to learn and be more productive in it, which is what
You
I'm
can
trying to
teach
do
me,
now.
I can teach you. It's all great.
Awesome. That's what each one teach one. But again, I would like to give the key to all of my music and everything is just opening the door to allowing our youth. I don't think we have a lot of OGs speaking anymore, and I realized after turning around, I never wanted to accept it, but at my age, I became one. So I realized that although I'm not saying nothing because I'm waiting for who are we waiting for to speak up? It's my age group that remembers. It's me that remembers when hip hop was born. It's me that remembers, all the different aspects of hip hop.
I had the guy who named hip hop on here too.
Oh yeah, who's that?
I mean, you're gonna have to tune in. You gotta go see for yourself.
You said named hip hop.
He named hip hop.
Okay, I don't remember. You'd have to tell me.
Go look through the back. Go look through some old episodes. You'll find it.
Okay, that's interesting. That gives me some homework. I believe that the godfather of hip hop, I know that was Grandmaster Caz and Melly Mel. So those were the godfathers of hip hop.
That don't mean they named it.
Right. I'd have to Google that.
Oh, it's in my catalog.
Okay.
Yes, sir. We gotta get more behind the scene because you gotta come back and do your music aspect. But when me personally, this is kind of a selfish episode because I had a chance to learn. So I was like,
okay,
I want to learn,
That's what's up, brother. I'm always open for that, and there ain't no thing, man. I'm again, if y'all want to check out my music, is Divine.
Promote.
Yeah, definitely. IZDIVYN. You can check me out on YouTube, or you can check me out on Instagram at who_is_DIVYN. So that's WHO_IZ_DIVYN. That's Who Is Divine. And you can also check me out on every other platform, whether it's, you can download the song if you want to, or whatever you feel, and just push it out there. The video is out on YouTube. Again, it's called The Shit. Everybody wants to be the shit. So that's what it's all about. And we really just promoting positive music and getting people to think differently. That's really what it's all about. So
or their perception of the truth of what the shit is, huh? OG?
Okay, now their perception of what I done opened up the brother's brain. That's that third
I'm learning, dog.
Yeah,
I'm learning.
brother. That's what it's all about, man.
I'm paying attention, bro. But you definitely opened my mind up to a new way of thinking, and I'm interested in learning where the core that comes from. So I hope this is not your last time that we're in contact or on the show. Could you talk to the young brothers before we get up out of here?
Absolutely. Yeah, man, I just wanted to tell y'all, to all the young brothers out there, I think that the key is for success is to be true to yourself. A lot of people tell you about what it is to be a man. You're going to hear that a lot nowadays. This is a man and that's a man, and this is what it is to be a man. When I was growing up, what it was most important was being about what you say you're about. And everything else is other people's perception of a man or their idea of what a good man or a bad man or whatever kind of man is. But one thing that separates a man from a female or just being a man from a boy is responsibility and accountability. Most every adult gains responsibility, but men have to hold accountability. So it's important for us as men to hold accountability and to put ourselves in a position where we can hold that accountability and be proud to hold accountability for the things that we're proud of, and not have to take accountability for the things that we're not proud of by staying away from doing the things that we can't claim. So if you ain't proud to do it, don't even do it. If you can't state it, don't say it. You know what I'm saying? If you can't live by it, don't even open out your mouth. You know what I'm saying? Because a man ain't nothing but his balls and his word. And when we lose that, we ain't shit. So all the rest that you be hearing, that's cap. I don't hear about nothing else. When I was raised up, a man ain't shit if his word ain't shit. So all that slime and all that extra shit, that shit sound nice. It sounds sweet, but it sounds like some girly shit to me. As far as I'm concerned, a man is all about his word. If you're a man, you're about your word. You always gonna be recognized anywhere you go, and people always gonna respect you, and you always gonna have a certain level that people can trust is you. Because if people don't know what you about, they can't. There's no honor in that. You know what I mean? So that's the message I had to the youth. Make sure your word is your bond.
That's real shit. That's real shit. Hope to build with you, and I appreciate you coming on, though. I wasn't expecting this. I ain't even gonna lie. I wasn't expecting this, though.
I hope it was a pleasant surprise, and I appreciate you having me, man.
I hope I have you back.
Anytime, just reach out and hit me up again. It's a little difference in the time zone, so I be catching you a little late sometimes, but it's all good. We made it work.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'll at you, brother.
I am. It's Peter, not the general. To NOLA the podcast. You keep your body clean, huh? Yeah. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother.
Dog.
Yes, sir.
From us damn street niggas, we ain't really comfortable with all of that attention. I know what you're trying to say.
Do what you do, baby.
I want congrats. I seen to come up through the mud. You feel me?
Really?
Yeah. I'm saying, like I said, I used to be top. I'm one of the ones. When that nigga said he had a phone, his whole joke, man, I'm looking at the screen like preach. Cause I was on the phone with him, you feel me? So you know what I'm saying?